Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beth. I am a 37-year-old attorney living in the DC area with my husband. And for today's video, I am going to be sampling Besame Cosmetics' relaunch of their Decades of Fragrance collection. So I have this little sample set with all the different scents. And the neat thing about this fragrance collection is that Besame is a company that is inspired by vintage cosmetics. So they do kind of recreations of existing shades, that kind of thing. And these different scents are supposed to kind of evoke the time period of those different eras. So I am a huge fan of history. I actually got both my undergrad and I got a master's in history. So I love it when companies kind of reference different historical eras. I know Replica, for example, is another company that kind of is tied to a particular time and place. So I wanted to kind of check these out. I believe this is a relaunch though, so this isn't the first time they've released their fragrances. The different thing about this release, however, is that they used to have a 1910 fragrance, which it seems they've gotten rid of, and I think the 1920 through 1950 fragrance are the same that they were however many years ago. But I believe they've changed the 1960 fragrance. So I'll let you know what the notes are and everything as we get to them. But for the fragrances that have stayed the same, they have kind of revamped the packaging. They used to all kind of come in a similar style of bottle, and then I think at one point they also had roller balls. Those were 15 ml. This current release, I think they're all just kind of travel spray sizes. So the full-size bottles are 9 milliliters and they retail for $34. And I just heard the air conditioning come back on. I did try to turn it off, but it was just getting too warm. It is going to be high 80s, almost 90 today, so I was going to be too distracted basically by the heat. But yeah, the full size, as I said, is 9 milliliters, retails for $34, so not a terrible price for a spray. This little sampler will cost you $20, and you get 5 2-milliliter bottles. And they are the kind of stopper style. I thought what I would do to sample these, obviously I can't spray them onto a card. I do have these different little fragrance sticks that I actually kind of trimmed to hopefully fit inside the bottle. So rather than try to like pour it onto one of these sticks, I thought maybe just dipping it in would be kind of the best and safest way to go about it. And before I launch into the actual sampling portion of this video, I did want to mention, and I know this is kind of a polarizing topic, but I'm filming this the day after the Supreme Court handed down its decision in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health, which is the decision where the Supreme Court overruled Roe v. Wade, which is a almost 50-year-old precedent saying that women have the right to an abortion within certain time periods. So, as I mentioned, Roe v. Wade was almost a 50-year-old precedent. It came down in 1973, which is the decade after the last in this little sampler set. And the reason I bring that up is because A, I think it's important to talk about generally. B, as I mentioned, I'm an attorney, and I got my undergrad degree in American history, and then my master's degree is actually in legal history. So anyway, so this is definitely an area that I am interested in, both personally and professionally, and I just want to point out I enjoy history, especially, the history of makeup and beauty. I find it really interesting. But at the same time, I don't want to kind of over-glorify the past and kind of gloss over some of the really awful and negative things that have gone on in this country specifically. So if we go back to this, 1950, there was still segregation in this country. We had the Depression, we had world wars. there was a lot of really crappy things going on during these decades. So that's not to say that we can't still enjoy the style of the past. I just think it's really important to kind of keep that in the back of our minds, and that for the 5 decades I'll be talking about throughout this video, women were not guaranteed access to the reproductive health services that they needed. And that now in certain states we have returned to that pre-1973 era. Okay, so having said all that, I'm going to kind of return to the more lighthearted part of this video. So they said that the fragrances were the fruit of 6 years labor and research, and I'm not sure if that's 6 years pre-2022 or 6 years pre-2014 when it seems that these fragrances initially launched. So the current description anyway, it says, the well-deserved fruit of 6 years labor and research, our Decades of Fragrance collection revives the aromatic essence of decades past. This olfactory snapshot through the ages uses familiar ingredients from distinct moments in time to create an impression in your mind. Each perfume extract is meticulously crafted from precious essential oils and natural vegan alcohol. Transport yourself to another era with each of our intoxicating scents. Okay, and I thought I would just quickly describe what the 1910 fragrance was that they have not brought back. And I thought it was interesting because I think this collection kind of came out around the same time of the newest Downton Abbey movie. And because Downton Abbey, the series, started in 1912, the Edwardian era, I thought it was interesting that they chose not to bring that one back. I thought about it a little bit more, and I think the current Downton Abbey movie is set in the 20s. So, you know, maybe it makes sense they didn't bring it back, or maybe it just wasn't as big of a seller. So I'm getting these notes from Fragrantica, and it says that 1910 is an amber floral, launched in 2014. The top notes are ylang ylang, French orange flower, and lemon. The middle notes are tuberose, jasmine, peony, and saffron. And the base notes are leather, civet, vanilla, and sandalwood. So it would have been interesting to smell that one, but unfortunately I can't. So it says, this formal and sentimental scent is innocent and sweet. The last decade of bustles, whalebone corsets, and long ruffled skirts mean a fragrance that is elegant, refined, and perfect for an afternoon tea. And I did film a video all about kind of afternoon tea, if you would like to check that one out. It says it's fresh citrus top notes, floral heart notes of tuberose and jasmine, and deep bass notes of sandalwood and vanilla. Think Art Nouveau, Belle Epoque, and Romance. Okay, so, and by the way, that new Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, Nouveau, is inspired by roughly the same period. I think Art Nouveau was maybe pre-1910. Yeah, so I think Art Nouveau, it actually kind of was ending around 1910. So according to Wikipedia, it says it was most popular between 1890 and 1910 during the Belle Epoque period that ended with the start of World War I in 1914. So moving on to 1920, which is the first one in the collection that I have, it says, and these fragrance descriptions are part of my favorite part about perfumes, especially ones that are meant to kind of evoke something. So I hope you will indulge me here. It says, this flirtatious, liberated, and naughty scent is prohibition in a bottle. Think secret speakeasy nights, mischievous rumors, and scandals galore. With new voting rights and pushing toward liberation, women began to cut off their long locks, shorten their hemlines, and dance the night away with total abandon. Spritz on the essence of this razzle-dazzle and all that jazz era, with mandarin and floral top notes finished with a musky base. Might as well pour yourself another. Decades of Fragrance 1920 is made to stay out late and break all the rules. So the top notes are mandarin, juniper berry, and galbanum, I think. The heart notes are jasmine, violet, muguet, and suede. And the base notes are cocoa, myrrh, amber, and musks. And Fragrantica classified the original launch as an amber floral, and the notes are the same. It just seems that they refer to Lily of the Valley as muguet as opposed to Lily of the Valley. Okay, so I have my little strip here, and they did kind of replicate the different fonts on the bottle. That'll focus. So I think that is a nice touch. I did kind of smell this one because I was kind of playing around with them, just trying to figure it out. And I'm going to end up with some perfume on my fingers. That's one of the reasons why I thought this would be a better method, because, you know, I want to kind of keep them each distinct. So yeah, and if you just barely dip, I think it's called like the capillary reaction or whatever, where it kind of goes up the paper. I was looking at videos on YouTube of like how quills work, because I was watching the new Stars series Becoming Elizabeth, and I was just curious how long someone could write with a quill and how often they would have to dip. So that was an interesting kind of deep dive. Yeah, so this one to me, and again, this is one that I kind of smelled already. It smells like a really luxurious laundry detergent. Maybe it's the Lily of the Valley or the Muguet. I know there was that, what was it called? Tokyo Milk fragrance that I got in an Ipsy that I said smelled like laundry detergent, but that was kind of like a bad laundry detergent. This one I wouldn't mind smelling. Maybe more as like a home fragrance though. Yeah, so this is like, to me, like the best possible version of a laundry detergent. Okay, so moving on to 1930. So this one, and maybe I'll try to rank them at the end once I sample all of them. So for 1930, it says, enter danger, noir, and old Hollywood glamour with the 1930s. Think Marlene Dietrich, seductive glances over cigarettes, and midnight rendezvous with a handsome stranger. The 30s was a time of transformation when the Hollywood starlet became the ideal of beauty, and makeup ruled the marketplace. This era of glamour is richly captured in a heady blend of spices, cinnamon, heliotrope, vanilla, and cedar. Decades of Fragrance 1930 would have the great Greta Garbo feeling right at home. So the top notes of this are mandarin, cinnamon, clary sage. The heart notes are tobacco, heliotrope, and lavender. And the base notes are vanilla, cedarwood, and musks. And Fragrantica classified this one as an amber fragrance. And I'll probably have pictures of the full-size bottle on the screen at some point, so I'm not going to do close-ups of each of these because the font's different, but I think it's the same as what is on the full-size. So nervous I'm going to spill. All right, so 1930. Oh yeah, this one is definitely amber. It's amber, but I think I'm getting some spiciness, so I'm guessing I'm getting the cinnamon, maybe the sage. I almost get like a sour note. I don't know if that's like the mandarin or the tobacco. Yeah, I think I'm definitely getting tobacco. I would say it's not quite as rich and warm as some amber fragrances. So I think if you like amber, but maybe a little bit more mellow, and again, I don't know, something about it just reads sour to me, which is interesting. I mean, not in like a bad way necessarily. I just think it's, kind of more taste specific. Okay, so let's move on to the 1940s. So it says, amid worldwide war and chaos, hope and optimism still pierce through in the 1940s. Affectionately called the bombshell, this scent captures the intelligence, strength, and smarts of the 40s woman. During this dark time, women used their beauty to inspire courage in the face of the fight. That poignant resolve rings true in tart green citrus top notes, rose and clove heart notes, and a lingering sandalwood and amber base. Decades of Fragrance 1940 promises brighter days ahead beauties. So the top notes are bergamot, cognac, and divana. The heart notes are rose, clove, and labdanum. And the base notes are sandalwood, amber, and benzoin. And again, 1940, they call it an aromatic spicy. So my favorite fragrance note generally is rose. I did a whole video about all of my favorite rose scents. So I think I was maybe most intrigued by this one. And I did also want to mention at some point that I'm wearing the Lisa Eldridge, it's kind of a combination of her Velvet Jazz and Velvet Ribbon lipsticks, which I featured in my, it's kind of like a, you know, classic red lipsticks that women have worn in like period films and TV shows. So if you want to check that out, I do have the Besame lipstick that is supposed to be based on a shade from, I think, 1946, which is the same shade that Haley Atwell wore in the TV show Agent Carter. And Besame did a whole collection around the TV show. But as I said before, that particular lipstick is just getting a little old. But yeah, I do have some of those Besame lipsticks anyway. So 1940. So this one is kind of like fresh. I just hit myself in the face with it. It's kind of like fresh and spicy at the same time. I feel like I'm giving you like really unflattering descriptions. So I'm just trying to give you a sense of what this might smell like for you. But that's not to say that it's bad. It's just, you know, like when you drink wine, like they'll say it has mineral notes or, you know, straw notes or whatever. Like obviously you wouldn't want to go out and eat straw, but you know, that's kind of the whole aromatic composition that's going on. So this one has, it smells almost like a little bit of a spicy rose cough syrup. I guess I get a little bit of citrus from it, but it's just kind of there to, I think, keep things light. But you still have amber to kind of ground things in the sandalwood. Yeah, maybe it's that cognac note, that kind of booziness that's giving me kind of almost that cough syrup vibe. Or like a rose flavored Manhattan cocktail or that kind of thing. Yeah, so far none of these are like, you know, I'm falling in love with them. But this is really interesting, and I think what they've succeeded in doing is put out some like more distinctive scents. So if you were looking for something that is not what everyone else is wearing, then you might enjoy these. Okay. So moving on to the 1950s. So it says the 1950s brought with it refined elegance and effortless sophistication. Think pearl necklaces, pastel cashmere twin sets, and ladylike grace. Inspired by Billie Holiday, gardenias, and pristine vanilla, this floral powdery scent is sweet and exceptionally fresh. Top notes of mango and freesia deepen to white notes of gardenia and tuberose and finish with vanilla and musk. You'll want a garden party with the girls when you spritz on Decades of Fragrance 1950. So the top notes are mandarin, mango, and freesia. The heart notes are gardenia, frangipani, and tuberose. I know frangipani is a flower, but I always get a little kind of excited because like, is it frangipan is like the almond kind of dessert ingredient, which I really enjoy, but it's not that. Anyway, and the base notes are vanilla, cashmere wood, and musks. And Fragrantica calls the 1950 a floral fragrance. Let's try 1950. We're going to see Elvis this afternoon. So it's like a 4 o'clock show or something. So maybe I'll put on some of this if it's not too much. Sometimes like really white floral fragrances give me a little bit of a headache. So it's really pleasant. It kind of reminds me a bit of a like a really high-end soap. It doesn't have jasmine in it, but I guess I'm getting kind of that white floral from the gardenia and tuberose, maybe the freesia. Again, I don't think there is a lot of fruitiness or citrus notes in this, maybe just a tad bit to kind of, again, keep it light. I think I'm getting more of the musk base than any kind of vanilla. If I think about vanilla, I can kind of smell it, but otherwise I think it's more musk than anything. And this one is supposed to be, they just call it a floral. Yeah, again, it's nice, but not totally losing my mind over it. Okay, so let's go on to the final one here, which is 1960. So it says, a teetering balance between classic and counterculture, the 1960s brought us experimentalism and bohemian lifestyles. Think rock and roll on the charts, fashion icon Twiggy, and outdoor festivals. As women of the 60s became bolder and braver than ever before, they pushed the boundaries on fashion, color, and makeup. This swinging scent brings it all together with florals, citrus, and spice. Top notes of bergamot, nutmeg, and green pear are layered with hints of jasmine, magnolia, and tonka bean. Push your own limits with Decades of Fragrance 1960. So the top notes are bergamot, mandarin, nutmeg, green pear, cinnamon, and baronia. The heart notes are black currant, which I do enjoy, vine flower, jasmine, cafe latte, cocoa, and magnolia. And the base notes are vetiver, desert rosewood, vanilla, candy floss, tonka bean, and musks. And I did say that the 1960 fragrance, they had changed it. So the original was a chypre floral, if I'm saying that right. And the top notes for that one, I'll just kind of point out some of the differences. So the top notes of the original were grapefruit, coriander, and wormwood. They are now bergamot, mandarin, nutmeg, green pear, cinnamon, and baronia. So you're still getting some kind of citrus note, but they've added a lot more to it. The middle notes in the original were rose, which again I've said is one of my favorites, and they've gotten rid of that. Were rose, jasmine, and reseda. And they are now black currant, vine flower. They still have jasmine, cafe latte, cocoa, and magnolia. So that's quite a interesting change. And the original base notes were patchouli, which, I mean, how can you not have a 1960s fragrance without patchouli? Agar wood or oud, and oak moss. And they've now made the base notes vetiver, desert rosewood, vanilla, candy floss, tonka bean, and musk. Yeah, let me know if you have tried both of them, the old and the new, and let me know which one you prefer. Okay, so let's go into the last one here. I do enjoy citrus and black currant generally. This one to me, and maybe not surprisingly because it's the latest one, so I don't know if I'm just, my thinking about the fragrance, it's affecting how I'm smelling it, but this one to me is the most modern. I don't know if it's because it has so many different notes in it. But yeah, I think this one might actually be my favorite because you get so you get that citrus, which is really nice and fresh, but then I think maybe that black currant is a little sharp. It's both sharp and sweet, so it has the candy floss and the vanilla, and that tonka bean I think makes it a little creamy. So I think if I had to describe this one, since I've given most of these kind of a touch point for what it might smell like to you, it smells like a really kind of gourmet creamsicle, like one where the kind of orange popsicle portion is not overly sweet, really citrus heavy, but then like combined with like a really kind of rich, decadent ice cream, vanilla ice cream. And maybe you're enjoying that outside, so you get maybe some flowers from a garden around you. Yeah, that's how I would describe this one. Okay, so I told you that I would try to rank them. So hopefully I still kind of have the ability to distinguish here. So smelling this 1930 again, I think some of the I think I said there was kind of a sourness. I think that's kind of died down a bit. Okay, so I think in last place, I'm actually going to put 1950. Like I said, it kind of smells like a high-end soap. And for me, I think personally, I'm just not a huge like white floral person. So I think I would rather have the like clean laundry scent over the luxury soap. I think I might do 1940 next, but I say this one smells like rose cough syrup or like a rose cocktail type thing, which is surprising because I really do like rose scents generally. And this is the only one with rose, but I don't think the rose is very forward, especially when you're putting it up against like amber and sandalwood and the cognac. All right, so 1950 and then 1940. And between 1920 and 1930, I think I would do 1920 next. Like I do enjoy this, but I don't know if I'd want to wear it. This is the one that I said smelled like kind of really high-end laundry detergent. And then 1930 I think I would do next, which is like really kind of amber, boozy. If you like, Jazz Club from Replica, you might want to give this one a shot. Yeah, and like I said, I think that kind of sourness has kind of died down. I don't know if that was like the tobacco note. So I think I'm liking that one more now. So I think 1960, yeah, I think this one is my favorite. So you get some freshness without it being like a soap or laundry detergent. It's kind of fresh, kind of sweet, kind of floral. I think this is the one I would probably feel most comfortable wearing, especially like as a daytime fragrance. I think if I wanted to go for something a little bit deeper, I would go for, was it the 1930? Yeah, the way they described 1920 actually made it sound more like it was going to be the boozy kind of scent, but yeah, I really just get kind of laundry detergent from that. Okay, so that is going to be it for my little foray into the Besame fragrances. Let me know if you have tried any of these at any point and which one is your favorite. I think it's always fun where they have little sampler sets like this so you can try them out, especially when Besame isn't really in a lot of physical locations. And, you know, it's kind of a cheap packaging style, but I don't think $20 for 5 samples is terrible compared to what you get from some brands. So yeah, that's gonna do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and found it interesting or entertaining. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.